Kutztown Live. Kutztown University campus's campus and community interest radio magazine. You can call Kutztown Live at 610-683-4859. And now, your host for Kutztown Live, Juliana Jablonski. And good afternoon. Welcome to Kutztown Live. I am not Juliana Jablonski because Juliana is done for the semester. She is busy with exams this week. And then in, a couple of weeks, we're all, of course, on winter break. KUR never goes on winter break. Don't you worry about that if you're a loyal KUR listener. KUR broadcasts 24/7, 365. And we have plenty of great programming for you coming up throughout the winter break and the holiday season. Great Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, you name it, programming. It's coming up here on the radio voice KUR, so just keep it locked. KUR is your 24/7, 365 source of information and entertainment here, northeastern Berks County and around the world. But just because the students are going to be on winter break doesn't mean that Kutztown Live rests. Kutztown Live keeps on going as well, at least on maybe an every other week basis. And this week I'm keeping it going because we have a couple of special guests today as I fill in for Juliana Jablonski. Coming up later in this hour, we're going to speak with Shana Rose. Shana Rose is a Kutztown University 2016 Environmental Geography alumna who attended the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Conference of the Parties as a delegate on behalf of the American Association of Geographers. The United Nations Conference took place in Germany from November 6th through 17th. And the conference was hosted by German and other governments. During the summit, they discussed issues relating to sustainability and climate neutrality. And we're going to have Shana on the air in about 40 minutes to talk about her experiences at the conference in Germany. It sounds like it was an absolutely fantastic experience on a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, very important to me. Climate change. So we are looking forward to having Shana live in the studio with us in about 40 minutes, about 3:45 if you're counting, here on the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. But coming up right now, we're going to have an interview with something that our student president, Michael O'Mara, did with a number of our alumni, and we've been airing them slowly, piecemeal, on the air the past few weeks, where KUR sat down with some beloved KUR alumni, former KUR members and KU alumni, who think that KUR and or their experience here at KU, helped enrich their lives and helped set them on a plan and a path of where they are now today. So we recently had an interview with Pat Dietrich and some other great alumni as well. Today, we're going to air an interview that Michael O'Mara recently did with Jake Zimmers. Jake Zimmers is former KUR president. In addition to being a KU alumni, he is Mike O'Mara's predecessor. He was our KUR student president of the organization last year. So he is now off and doing wonderful things. It's always great to report when some of our alumni, quickly enter the job field and settle right into what they want to do. It doesn't always work that way for some people. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. But for Jake Zimmers, it worked that way perfectly. He just landed into a fantastic gig at another wonderful college here in eastern Pennsylvania, Lafayette College, a great college about 45 minutes east of here in Easton, Pennsylvania, doing some AV-type work. And he credits his experiences here at KU and KUR to where he is today at Lafayette College. So without further ado, I air to you this program, this interview that Mr. Michael O'Mara did with former KUR president Jake Zimmers. Enjoy.
My name is Michael O'Mara, and you're listening to Kutztown Live. And today we're continuing our discussion with some alumni of KUR and KU. And today we have 2016-2017 KUR president Jake Zimmers in the studio. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for coming. Now, before we get going, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about Jake Zimmers?
Wow, that's a broad question now.
Yeah.
Originally from the Harrisburg area, found Kutztown when I was, I believe, late in my junior year of high school. Was looking at another university, and I applied to 3 schools, including 2 state schools here in Millersville. And I fell in love with Kutztown. I came to visit here as a senior in high school right after I turned 18. And I fell in love with the campus, and I fell in love with the people and everything about it, and I knew this was the place I wanted to go. And it also helped that when I came here for orientation that summer,
hey, Connections.
Hey, what? When I came here for Connections in June of 2013, I remember seeing a table in the sub back before the whole Cub Cafe renovation. I saw a table for Kutztown University Radio, and I had fallen in love with radio around like my late junior year, and I said I want to do this. And then early on my freshman year, I got involved, and the rest, as they say, is history.
I can relate to coming across the table. They don't do that anymore during Connections.
Yeah, I know.
Which is a bummer. And I keep trying to talk to I'm like, hey guys, hey, I found KUR through this. This is the reason I found that table, and that's actually motivated me to stay here.
Exactly.
And other students might have that feeling,
and they don't see the table.
Can you just put a table out? It's not hard.
No.
So like now we have two presidents right here that have found KUR through that program and became student leaders and went on to do decent things. So like, get the tables back.
Get the
Connections.
tables, absolutely.
I'm sending this to Connections, and they're gonna be like, all right, but whatever. Okay, it brings up a lot of feelings, but I'm glad you found KUR through Connections.
Oh, so, absolutely.
When you think back to that moment of coming here, maybe not for orientation, did you do tours at all?
I did, yeah.
Okay, during those tours, what was there a thing that you saw on campus, like a building or a program that stood out that you can think of off the top of your head?
Not really a program, not really a building that stood out. It was just more so the atmosphere of the campus, the layout of the campus. It was just something that I instantaneously fell in love with. First of all, the campus, when people visit here, or if you're a student here, it's very easy to navigate, which I feel like is beneficial when you're making that transition. You're so used to the sanctity of home, and you're so used to familiarity there. When you come here
in high school,
in high school, yeah. So you want a little bit of familiarity, and when you come to a new place, you won't have it. But when it's easy to recognize, if you're on this side of Kutztown Road, you're on the academic side, and if you're on the south side of campus, then you're on the housing side and the dining side and the gym, the rec center, Andre Reed Stadium, all that stuff. So I felt that immediate sense of, wow, this place just feels amazing.
Makes sense.
And again, nothing against those other two schools that I applied to, they're all great, but I felt more sanctity, more home, more of a sanctuary of a place that I could make my own.
There's you watch Parks and Rec?
I do.
Okay, there's that one bit where what's his character? Chris Pratt's character, whose name
Andy.
Okay, Andy. I remember Chris Pratt, but not Andy. And he's talking to the British guy, trying to try to get selected for nonprofit.
Yes.
And he goes, I don't know what the British guy goes, I don't know what to do. I don't know who to do. People keep telling me, what do I do? What do I do? Tell me what to do. And he goes, if I may, those guys are good. We're great. And he goes, I'm sold. That's kind of what it feels like happened when you came here.
Absolutely, 100%.
So that's good. I mean, there you go. They're good, but we're great. It's good to be golden. Now it's great to be golden. Hashtag, it's great to be golden.
It is 100% great to be golden.
They missed out on that a little bit. It's great to be golden, not good to be.
Yeah, it's not just good. It's like the Tony the Tiger.
We're not talking about. We talk about Tony the Tiger for a while. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So, you mentioned you fell in love with radio your junior year of high school?
Yeah. So
why?
Well, waking up those wee hours of 6 o'clock in the morning to get ready for high school.
Fun times.
Yeah. My routine would be the same. Wake up at 6, take the dog out, eat breakfast, change, go to school. And when I would watch TV while I was eating breakfast, a lot of the times I would watch Sports Center, ESPN, all that stuff.
Yeah.
My dad would flip back and forth between different news channels. And I remember flipping through all the ESPN channels because we had DirecTV when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And it was right during the huge peak of Mike and Mike in the Morning.
Mike in the Morning.
They're still simulcasting and they're doing really, really well on ESPN too. This was about probably 8-9 years into that. And then I remember flipping through the channels and seeing just randomly spotting on MSNBC Don Imus's radio show.
Okay.
Which, you know, I didn't really watch or listen to any of his stuff, but I just remember seeing that and seeing Mike and Mike, and then eventually it expanded into Scott Van Pelt's show, which now Ryan Russillo runs, and Boomer and Carton on CBS Sports Radio. The Herd with Colin Cowherd, shows like that. It expands. It has continued to expand this idea of getting this medium out to as many people as you can. And when you're at that professional level, and you can do that on television, at first it's like, oh, a radio show and TV, wow, they really need members. But when you sit back and think about it, it's like, oh, well, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, they are reaching millions and millions and millions of households. And people might not necessarily think of turning on their radio when they're getting ready for work or school in the morning. So, what do most people do when they're getting ready for school in the morning? Oh, they turn on the TV. They listen to music on the TV, or they listen to music on their phone. And they can get it through that. So seeing those shows, I immediately was like, I want to do that because it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, radio isn't dead; it's adapting.
Absolutely. I've heard people say that radio's starting to die out. It's like no, it's not. New forms of radio are being introduced.
Preach.
And you see a lot of streaming radio, such as us and
Pandora, Spotify,
iHeart,
YouTube.
Exactly. And
we're on YouTube.
It's not KUR and other radio stations in college and professional radio stations. Radio is not dead. Radio is evolving.
Yeah.
And I think, will it come to the point one day where, it might look weird, listening to the radio on the actual dial? Yeah, it might, because so be it. But you still have the mediums to reach it on the internet.
Yeah. On demand, way the future.
100%, and that's what I thought was really cool with KUR when we started to use Mixcloud. Yeah,
we're using Mixcloud. We're using YouTube for our talk formats, and we're using Mixcloud for pretty much everything else.
Yeah, and last year when that was you, I believe, who was introducing trying to get the broader reach on social media, and and I was all for that, and I hopped on that because right around that time I was thinking, wow, Facebook Live on my phone, wow, I want to go ahead and do that, which I thought was a great opportunity to get more people that might not have heard my show before or might have listened to in a while, and I did my opening monologue on my show for the first 5 or 10 minutes and be like, hey, we're talking about this, we're talking about these concerts, we're talking what songs I'm going to play, and it was cool to be able to bring different people in and have them request songs to play on the show, and
you were reaching people through a different medium that you wouldn't normally.
100%. Yeah. And Stu, doing the Facebook Live thing was definitely one of my highlights in my time here.
Yeah,
definitely my time at KUR. Like I said, being able to reach out to as broad of an audience as possible, trying to get as many people as possible to tune in and have a good time and jam out, as I always like to say.
What were they tuning into?
So when I would go live, it would more normally be being like, hey, Cats and Chicks. I remember hearing that in an old KU advert.
Cats and Chicks.
Cats and Chicks, yeah. Now I'd be like, hey, everybody, I'm getting ready to do my show, so listen to this stuff. So first little bit would go on, and then I'd come on. You'd hear my really, really dark and disturbing intro.
To what? Intro to what?
My radio show.
Yeah, what's your radio show called?
My radio show was called Bang Your Head.
Bang Your Head. Yes, it was. Bang Your Head, KUR.
I had it on for 6 semesters, 6 of my 7 semesters on air.
Keep calm and bang your head.
Keep calm and bang your head. My theme song was the song "Beast and the Harlot" by the band Avenged Sevenfold, and it was. I had all that go, and I talked to the people for about 3-4 minutes, and then said, "All right, we're gonna go into some tasty jams," and away we go, and just went about that, and to be able to have, like, I had friends of mine from home, friends of mine from different colleges, say, oh, I want to hear this song, oh, I want to hear this song. It's like, yeah, you got it, and I'll shout you out too. And they were like, hey. So being able to include them into the show, that was the number one objective of Bang Your Head, was to get as many people listening and to just have a good time. It didn't always have to be the heaviest of metal music. It was a huge mosh posh, if you will, of different genres.
Okay. A mosh posh.
Mosh posh.
Okay.
Mosh kosh bagosh, I guess.
I've heard one thing, a lot of people, I'm not trying to, a lot of people struggle trying to figure out what they want to do behind the mic. Did you have that mentality, that goal in mind when you first got on the mic in 2013?
14.
14, when you first got on the mic in 2014?
Well, my whole thought process when I got behind this mic was not to script anything.
Okay.
Obviously I knew within the FCC regulations, not to say naughty words.
No naughty words.
No, none of those F words. None of those other derogatory
Like
phrases.
friendship.
Yes. No. Well, yeah. I can't. Yeah, you're right. I can't say that word. Some 4-letter F words and stuff like that. So, so I always knew that. I'll be honest. Away from the mic, when I'm with my friends, I might not have the best language, but I know when I'm behind this mic, I have a responsibility, and I can flip on the switch, and I can do all that unscripted. I always felt like that was one of my better traits, was that, and nothing knocking on some of the people who are here, but sometimes they like write out and read off a script, and that's great because it might suit them better.
I've done that before.
Exactly.
Yes.
Nothing absolutely wrong with that. But I personally felt that I just want to go in and be random, be loose, be live, because I feel like at the end of the day, that's what radio is about.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's going in and, if something happens, like if I have my phone here and I forgot to put it on Do Not Disturb and it just starts to vibrate and distracts me, then, that's live.
Yeah.
If the phone over there in the studio distracts me, then that's live and it scares me. So off the mic,
we're doing it live.
We're doing it. Yeah, exactly. I just Bill O'Reilly. It's funny you do that because I actually saw a Family Guy skit where Lois was going to work for Fox News and Stewie was playing Bill O'Reilly. And
we're doing it live.
And he did that entire thing. I thought it was funny. But no, I had a lot of fun just going in there and being loose. And even sometimes I would come in and have a rough idea of what music I was going to play, but other times, a lot of the times it would be like up until that last minute or within the last 10 seconds of the song I was playing, be like, crap, what song am I going to play? And then quick pick it.
But that was intentional.
60% of the time, yes. 40% of the time it would be like, 10 seconds left in the song. Oh no. Oh, I played this song last week. I'll play it again. Songs, stuff like that. So, spontaneity and, just not using, I guess, the phrase off the cuff, because I feel like that wasn't really me, but definitely spontaneity was a big part of Bang Your Head. Was just the show title was very misleading because
I feel people did bang their head a little bit.
Oh yeah, exactly, but it was a little bit. But it wasn't always Metallica and all of these heavy bands. I would sprinkle in influences from music that I got from other former KUR DJs like Brandon Kniff.
Shout out Brandon. The second alumni interview we've done. Shout out Brandon Kniff.
Brandon Kniff, Maureen Dillon, Pat Dietrich.
Shout out Pat Dietrich. And why not Maureen Dillon? Shout out Maureen Dillon. How you doing?
Matt Davis, Mitch Lambert.
I don't even know Matt.
Tucker Butler. All these great people. Matt Check, Nick Gorey.
Matt Check. Okay.
Zach Esposito.
Zach. Warped Radio. He brought that back. Warped Radio.
All of those people helped influence my radio show in one way or the other. They helped introduce me to artists that in high school I might not have listened to.
Yeah.
And sort of brought that to my ear. So then through the later years of the show, you would hear me play bands like Dr. Dog, Dispatch, one of my favorites, Dave Matthews Band, A Day to Remember, Bring Me the Horizon, Reliant K. I would really go. I even played hip hop.
Yeah.
On a rock show, I played a little bit of hip hop. So I went everywhere.
So it was. You came here and you didn't have that, and then through KUR, through the friendships, through the family that you've developed here, you grew.
Oh, 100%. 100%. As I like to call them, the OG KUR fam.
OG KUR.
The OG KUR fam.
You weren't here in 2004. You weren't here in 1963.
Okay, you're right. No, I remember just after the meetings, probably my sophomore year, just hanging out with all those people, going to get lunch before our 12 o'clock classes, and just, just hanging out.
Camaraderie.
Having fun, a lot of camaraderie, and in a couple of months with a couple of those people, I'm going to see a concert over in Reading. And
which concert?
Avenged Sevenfold.
Avenged Sevenfold. It's coming to what? Santander.
Santander, yeah.
Nice. Right.
They've been one of my favorites for a while. It's my first time seeing them. So, and a band like them, I started to like them a lot in high school, but really expanded during my time here. And a lot of other bands expanded my interest and my peak curiosity to where I like to consider myself a music aficionado.
Yeah, that I can agree. And the whole heart, like 100%. I came here with a very skewed sense of music. I went to a lot of concerts before I came to college, and there was a lot of alternative and indie, and that was about it. That's where I drew the line in the sand. And I came here and was exposed to all kinds of music, all kinds of genres, all kinds of opportunity.
Right.
And now I'm kind of freeform. I'm literally all over the place. Very thematic, very specific genre to a show, but it's scattered.
Absolutely.
So people every week can hear something different. And that was not the plan coming into it. KUR helped me get there.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the reason you joined KUR was you saw a table at Connections.
Yes.
Why did you stay?
I feel like KUR gave me a voice. It gave me an opportunity to be someone that I couldn't be living in my hot box of a dorm in Bonner Hall as a freshman.
Bonner?
Yeah, 5th floor, Bonner Hall, 539.
Okay.
No, like I said, I don't know. KUR to me gave me an outlet. It gave me the chance, and even without, take the show away for a second.
Sure.
Focus on the meetings.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday, like that, it would be something that I would look forward to. And when you have that, it doesn't become, they always say like, oh, when you have a job you love and it's no longer a job, it's a career. And it's something that you don't have to struggle with going to every day. And to me, I would always look forward to KUR meetings every Tuesday at 11 a.m. because I'd be surrounded by people from all different walks of life that would all be there for the same purpose, and that's to have a unique voice, a unique mindset to play whatever music they like. Because I mean, let's be real. Like when we're with our friends, we all will have different tastes in music. So if you're hanging out with a couple people and they want to hear the latest Kendrick Lamar album, shout out to that. But and I want to play exactly humble. But I want to hear the new Blink-182 record that came out last year. Or the new A Day to Remember record, or something a little different. They'll be like, why are we listening to this? This is gross. Put on Kendrick. And this show and this station gives you the chance to play songs off of that Blink album, or play songs that you normally wouldn't play around your friends. Yeah,
you have the ability to sit down, create, come up with a process, and then you produce, and then you perform. And then you learn all the processes after, the post-production, the post-edit. It's a major process. It's not something to be taken lightly. It's something you can, for me anyway, when I first got here, it was something I hopped on.
Right.
And I kind of went all over the place, and then I kind of just left. But it turned into something cathartic for me. It turned into something that I could apply what I'm learning in class to this microphone, like comm theory. You were, it's CTM now, but you were electronic media.
Yes.
When you look at the classes that you've had here, when you looked at some of the professors that influenced you, did that translate to the microphone in any capacity?
In some ways, I would say yes. I took influences from all of my professors in different styles. I think looking at I don't know if he'd hear this, but Professor Len Barish teaches audio production.
We're gonna tag him.
We're gonna tag him.
We're gonna tag him.
Len Barish in the CTM department. He having his course. Looking at in depth of the technical side of audio, looking at it like, what makes it do this, and being able to look at and being able to create different projects. There were a couple times in that class where I would help people out with projects. I'd be behind the mic and narrating, and being able to narrate in a certain style. I feel like might have helped me for stuff in this. Last semester, I helped with Blake and Chris Luttrell on
Time Traveling
Troubadour. Yeah, I helped them for a little bit on one of their episodes they were working on. And obviously a lot of the professors had influences for me in the field that I'm going, in the direction that I'm going in.
Sure.
In that aspect. But certainly, I'd be remiss without mentioning Professor Barish. and even my academic advisor, professor, Michael Johnston.
Michael Johnston. We're definitely tagging him in this. Without a doubt, he's going to see this.
I was able to. That was kind of able to influence a little bit of the music that I played on my show because
he did for the same for me at some points.
Absolutely, yeah. And he being able to discuss different kinds of music. With him, he's obviously, he teaches script writing. He's really into the whole movie.
That's what I had him for. Yeah.
And that's cool. And one of the classes I had with him, I want to say it was media theory and aesthetics.
Was it 130 TVR 130?
I believe so.
Yeah, I almost took that. I wish I did.
We watched. This would have been. This came out, I think, about 3 years ago now. But around the time that Foo Fighters released their 8th album called Sonic Highways, they released a docu miniseries on HBO, the same name.
It was about the tour?
It was about the making of the album. So
did he break his leg during that album?
It was the tour after.
It was the tour after.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the whole theme of that album was the band would go to a different city, an important city in the history of music, learn about the music history, and write a song about that history, and have a guest musician from a musician that's synonymous with that area. Like, for example, off the top of my head, one of the songs they recorded in Nashville, and their guest on it was Zach Brown. And the docu-series explores the history of music in each city, and sort of it shows the songwriting process of how they created that song. And in that class, we ended up watching the episode in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. has a lot of different influences, but the main one, and that's kind of what the song on the album it's called The Feast and the Famine. What it was influenced on was the hardcore punk scene in the early to mid 1980s, which Dave Grohl was actually a part of before he joined Nirvana. Yeah. So we watched that, and I was actually able to discussing that with Professor Johnston, because he's a big Foo Fighters fan. I'm a big Foo Fighters fan, and they were one of the bands that I featured pretty prominently on my show. And incorporating more of their albums and incorporating different songs, songs that you wouldn't even think of hearing on a radio station, these deep cuts, and being able to talk about when we were up in New York City the one time for IBS.
Intercollegiate not Irritable Bowel.
Not Irritable Bowel. No.
Intercollegiate Broadcast System Awards.
But we had it was after everything I think was complete, and we had some free time.
Yeah.
And
good time.
We went to a restaurant. We went out to eat, and what was really cool was that in the same building, it was like a tale of two cities, if you will. The one part was a restaurant. The other side of it was a nightclub, and they had live music, they had live bands, and I saw this really, really cool band, and I'm trying to remember their name, and I'm going to try to shout them out if I remember it. I believe they're called Ski Patrol.
Okay.
And the best way I can describe them is like power pop music, but it's really good. It's amazing. And I remember playing them for Professor Johnston, and he was like, "Oh, I like it." And I was like, "I got him into a band. That's amazing." I didn't think that was possible. Usually the professor gets me into a movie, but then I got the professor into music, and I was like, "Yeah."
It was because of KUR a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Because KUR got me up to New York City 3 years in a row for the IBS conference, and got to see some cool music. Got to see a lot of great radio stations up there, and the rest, as they say, is history.
We're going to go back, and we're going to make you, we're going to make everyone here now, and every other person proud. We're going to win a lot. That's what I can tell you for sure. Kind of going off of that original thought.
Yeah.
You learned a lot through your professors, and
Yes.
you learned a lot through KUR. Both, when you look at all the knowledge that you've acquired through both, you look at your current profession. What do you do now?
Currently, I am a video production assistant with the athletic communications office at Lafayette College over in Easton.
Okay. And what you did in class, what you did in KUR, what moment in either kind of helped you prepare effectively for that role?
Well, obviously, the classes that I took helped me prepare for editing packages to put together online. My main task is right now. So we have 5 sports we're covering in the fall season.
Okay.
And 4 of those sports we solely stream online. So two of those sports, which are field hockey and women's soccer, I direct those streams, and the other two I assist with the production. Live production wasn't really something that I prepared myself a tremendous amount with in my time here. That mainly started, I want to say, my spring semester junior year, spring 2016. I took the studio production practicum course here, which was helping to produce the sports talk show on campus, Between the Lines.
I just watched Between the Lines today with Glenn.
Yeah. Glenn Mahone. I love
Glenn Mahone.
I love shout out to Glenn.
Shout out to Glenn Mahone.
Glenn
Coco.
Glenn Coco. Glenn's one of my best friends, so shout out to him.
Mm-hmm.
And that semester, a couple episodes I was actually the main host. I was a co-host of the entire episode, which was great. But my main task was helping to put together our segment called Halftime. We'd interview an athlete and learn about their history, what brought them to KU, favorite memory, and they would teach us the sport. It was kind of informational, informative, if you will, but kind of it was also kind of tongue-in-cheek humor, like, oh, I can't play this sport, what am I doing, kind of thing. And so that sort of introduced me to that aspect, because I was in front of the camera, I was editing it, I was producing it, I was doing all this. Last fall, I was helping the live production crew for the KU home football games.
Yeah.
Which, I was running audio, I was helping, running camera, I was, doing all this stuff. And then when I interned at Lafayette last semester,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do a lot of the directing. The first time I directed a game was at the end of my internship, when I wasn't even an intern anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I was done with the internship, and I was officially, I was a week away from graduating. My boss had just gotten surgery, and I said, I'll direct them, no problem. Directed 2 games, and I got nervous, but I got through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the past 2 months that I've been here, that I've been out in Easton, I've been directing these streams. I've been, I think, doing a decent job. I've been putting together post-game reports to upload to YouTube. And even recently, which I think where KUR comes into play, is the talking and the in front of the camera aspect. That's where you can split it, where the in front of the camera stuff I got from the major, but the speaking and the way to handle myself I got from right here at KUR.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to interview the head swimming coach after their first meet of the year, and kind of having, you look at the video, I seem a little nervous, but at least having the experience of both KUTV and KUR.
You're a few steps ahead of everyone, little ahead of the curve.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel, more comfortable behind a situation like this, because there's no camera in my face, and I don't have to worry about, watching, what I do and every little movement and all that.
Oh, there's cameras everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
There's-
But in terms of the words, and in terms of how I'm handling myself in front of a camera, I think I owe a lot of that to KUR, just for being comfortable and for being myself, for not trying to be a stick with a mic, just straight and narrow.
Coming up, guys, we have
A robot.
Yeah.
Be a robot.
You see that a lot.
Coming up next, it's time for the interview with the coach of the swimming team. Coach, how was your meet? Oh, that's great. That I can be like, like this past weekend was Lafayette's homecoming.
Yeah.
So, being like, Coach, it was a big weekend, homecoming weekend. What did it mean for you to be back, to have a bunch of your former swimmers come back and support the team?
Yeah.
And being able to think of some questions off the top of my head, and think of them myself. Like, oh, coming up next, you have a quad meet at Bucknell. What is that? How do you take what you learned today and prepare for that meet going against 3 different teams?
A lot of people forget how to, I don't want to say do broadcasting, but even the same applies to PR. The same applies to be on the radio. You might have a large audience. You might have thousands of people you might be talking to in some capacity. Mm-hmm. But just like we're doing now, it's just you and it's just me. That's it. So there's not going to be 1,000 people listening all at the same time. There's going to be just one person listening, and you're going to be talking to them. So approaching them just like a conversation,
mm-hmm.
approaching them just like they're in the room with you, is something a lot of people don't think when they have a microphone in their hands. Mm-hmm. Just talk. Just communicate. Just go, hey, hi, how you doing?
And that's what I loved about being here,
mm-hmm.
was the, not informal is kind of the wrong word to use, excuse me, but it's like, it's...
Oh, it's informal. It's a college radio station, man.
It's it's relaxing. It's very lax.
It provides you like a breeding ground to make not a major mistake, but to make the small mistakes that you were talking about. To do it live.
Yeah. To quote Tim Roche, something chill. You know, it's
to quote Tim Roche, whatever it is.
Yep, bruh.
We submitted him for an award at IBS. We're going to get him an award. Fingers crossed.
Tim Roche has one of the greatest voices I've ever heard in my life.
We need to get him back here.
The first time I heard him talk, I didn't think his voice was real.
No.
It doesn't sound
One of my professors, I had a class with him, and one of my professors was like, he pulled me to the side a couple days after our first class. He was like, is that his voice? Like, he was dead serious. Like, and I'm like, yeah, it's his voice.
That's actually how he talks.
It kind of feels like he's manipulating it at all, but he's not.
No.
I want to hear Tim's voice low. I want to hear Tim's voice low. That's what I want.
I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say that in choir he was probably a tenor.
So overall, though, looking back on KUR, looking back on class, just in general, KU, do you see that having a significant impact on your career path? When I say that, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I might just delete this question. I think I'm going to delete that question. I don't know. I don't even know.
No, sort of like what KU means to me. I mean,
I'll restart that. I can cut that out.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay.
I just got to make a mental note of that time. Okay. When you look back on KU, when you look back on KUR classes, what does KU mean directly to you as Jake Zimmers, former president of KUR and housing CA?
Housing. No. I think without Kutztown, looking first at the university, without Kutztown, things would have been 100% different.
Yeah.
Because I know this was one of the reasons why I wanted to come here, was because of the radio station.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know why, because I didn't, I just knew that watching these radio simulcasts on TV, I wanted to do that. And I didn't truly know what the radio stations were like at these other schools.
Were there radio stations at these other schools? Do you know?
There was, and then the one school I'd actually gone to for it was a communications camp.
Mm-hmm.
I was up there for a week, and they have a radio station, but it's literally a room, and it's a glass room, and it looks fine, but it didn't look. It was literally just a board and two mics.
Mm-hmm.
It was really something really small, almost like something you would take out on a remote.
A rinky-dink closet kind of thing, and just something to promote.
Just right in the middle of their student union building, and it just it didn't look, for lack of a better word, didn't look impressive. It didn't look like they cared, and it's a shame because I've heard about that at other radio stations, even in the state system, about not really putting forth the effort and really putting dedication into their radio station. And the other school, I mean, I don't know how they were at them truly, but here I seeing the KUR table, I think it all goes back to that, seeing that table at Connections. If you have a table there, you must be doing something right, because B, you must be one of the top organizations on campus.
I agree 100%.
And when I saw that table, I said, yes, please sign me up. And that's where it all ties back to.
Mm-hmm.
So
butterfly effect.
It is, yeah. So if you take KUR away for a second, Kutztown University made me who I am.
Yeah.
I couldn't see me being as open, being as random, being as thoughtful,
prepared,
more prepared,
mm-hmm.
like that. I should have been prepared, but at the other schools, as if I hadn't come here, because I was able to interact with some great people in great organizations. I spent 2 years in housing, and I worked with amazing building directors, amazing CAs, amazing desk receptionists. Yeah. I spent a year on the committee for the Race Against Racism, and seeing
Catherine Sternberg.
Yeah,
Katie.
Shout out to Katie.
And she's my boss for a year.
She was my BD. So
yep.
So seeing the people that were passionate about that impacted me, and especially, and now you add KUR into the mix. Like I said, without KUR, even still going here, I would have been fine. But without KUR, even going here, I think things might have been a little different, because I don't know if KUR made me who I am. KUR shaped me to be thoughtful, be more eloquent, to be more of a person, to be more impactful.
I feel it in my core. I feel it in my core, Jake.
It impacted me to be more of a better person, and to not be fake, to not be, I just be honest with people, just learn more about people. And at the end of the day, like, I always say I don't know where I'd be without KUR. I truly don't know where I'd be without KUR, but I'm sure as heck glad that I got into this organization and I worked with tremendous people. And I'm happy to see that the strides that they're taking. It's weird that I've been gone now for going on 6 months. That I haven't been, I haven't hosted my show, because it was every semester thing. Okay, submit my free times and get ready to go on air. And I miss it. I really do. But I'm happy to see people coming in. I'm happy to see what the club started last year, and see it start to build, and to see it continue. And I think with the insane dedication of the people in this organization, the sky's the limit. And you can bet yourself that I will be doing backflips within the next 5 years when KUR wins Best Station.
We're going to win Best Station. We're going to do it for you, Jake. We're going to do it for every other president. We're going to make it happen.
I can't wait.
We're going to make it happen. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jake, for coming in.
Thank you.
Seriously. This has been Kutztown Live with special guest host Michael O'Mara. We just spoke with former 2016-2017 President Jake Zimmers, and I'm the current president. So to see the passion emitting from you. You haven't been here for 6 months. To see that kind of passion, it inspires me. And I'm going to try to carry that same passion throughout the rest of my tenure here as president. For everyone out there who wants to check out Kutztown Live on social media, be sure to use the hashtag Kutztown Live or visit the Facebook page, Kutztown Live.
It's Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us.
Do you ever feel isolated? Hi, I'm Brianna Rode. Feeling isolated and lonely is a pretty common problem here on Earth. It's not fun and it can make you absolutely miserable. So how do you think astronauts feel? Astronauts are isolated in outer space for weeks, months, or even years. So you could imagine it would eventually start to have some serious effects on their physical and mental health. Isolation itself only really causes a few health concerns, including depression, anxiety, and high stress levels. The rest are side effects of the high stress levels. High stress levels can lead to obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, and heart disease. Being an astronaut, you have to be in the best physical health possible, and heart disease and high blood pressure don't really help. Along with the risks of high stress levels, some of the direct effects of isolation are anxiety and depression. Anxiety and depression take a lot out of people mentally under normal circumstances, so being in a confined spaceship in high-stress situations is not the most ideal position to be in. In fact, high-stress situations can make anxiety and depression worse. Anxiety and depression can consume your thoughts and distract you from your work and objectives. So not only is this pretty bad for the astronauts' mental health, it can also put their missions at risk, along with their lives. Besides the mental health risks, isolation also can make day-to-day living very difficult. In one study, people who were isolated under normal conditions on Earth had more trouble doing simple tasks like moving around, dressing themselves, and eating. Being isolated in such a small area in outer space would make these tasks even harder. Everyday things like eating and moving around are extremely difficult to do in space, so when you add the effects of isolation onto that, the tasks may become nearly impossible, which unfortunately just increases stress levels even more. Such high stress levels can actually weaken your immune system, and having a weak immune system in a confined space with other people can lead to higher risk of illness and disease, which pretty much means that the more isolated you are, the more likely you are to be constantly sick, and even worse, it increases your risk of death at a younger age. One study showed that it is more likely that you die at a younger age if you are isolated for long periods of time. Other studies have found mixed results, but you can assume the increase in mortality rates is probably due to all of the health risks. Clearly, isolation causes many health risks and physical problems. The high-stress environment of being confined in space only heightens these problems. I think we all need to pay a little more attention to the health risks involved with isolation, especially when it comes to the astronauts already putting their lives at risk.
Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us. Stay tuned to KUR for more telescopic topics. Telescopic Topics is a production of the KU Physical Sciences Department and is recorded by KU astronomy students in the studios of KUR. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Back we are here on Kutztown Live. Monsoon Mike sitting in today for Juliana Jablonski, who is doing exams this week and going to be on winter break very shortly. But Kutztown Live never ends. We keep the great programming coming, and we have a special guest in the studio right now with us. She is a 2016 alumni here from Kutztown University, Shana Rose. She was a 2016 environmental geography alumni. She attended a really cool thing in the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference of the Parties as a delegate on behalf of the American Association of Geographers. The United Nations conference took place back in Bonn, Germany, from November 5th through the 17th, and the conference was hosted by the German government. During the summit, things such as sustainability and climate neutrality were discussed. Climate change, of course, a topic dear to my heart, so this sounds like a fascinating interview. I would like to welcome right now Shana Rose to the air. Shana, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you here, Shana. Okay, so tell me just a little bit, in 45 seconds or less, a little bit about yourself.
So, like you said, I'm a 2016 grad of KU, and it's been an interesting year thus far since graduating college.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of doing various other things, but this is something that's very core to my heart. And it's interesting explaining to people why I wanted to go to COP, and it's like the biggest thing that I kind of thought about is it's not just necessarily finding a career in this field, but it's like this is my lifestyle.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Yeah.
So being chosen as a delegate for this sounds like a pretty major thing. How did you get lucky enough to be chosen for this?
Well, pretty much it primarily started of the fact that I joined a subgroup of AAG, and it was an email that was sent out that said, if people want to go to COP and observe the experience, fill out this simple information and give a little blurb why you want to go. And I heard back from them about a month to probably like 2 months later, and sure enough, I was able to go. But yeah, so it was a very awesome experience, and actually while I was at COP, I befriended some people from Liberia.
Awesome.
And so when I originally went to COP, I only had access to one zone. But then when I was given the opportunity to be on the Liberian delegation, I was able to experience COP as a whole. So experience both the trade show kind of countries showing off what they're doing, but also being able to see the proceedings and the delegations in person.
So yes, set the scene or paint the picture for us. I mean, what is this event like? This seminar, this whatever you want to call it.
So it's a huge, gigantic conference
Okay.
of like who's who in the world, both like diplomats, politicians, educators, business people, all kind of transcending onto one location every year. And this year was kind of unique because actually the Fijian and German governments both hosted it. So it was kind of interesting to see that because Fiji couldn't host it in their country because of the fact that with logistics of it. But you had kind of two zones this year, which was also a new thing. So the bond zone, which is where I originally first had access to, it's where like all the trade shows and a lot of non-governmental organizations have their stands. But then on the Bula zone side is where a lot of the negotiations happen. And this year's negotiations were a lot about how there should be a rule book that's set in place and how is the Paris Climate Accord actually going to have teeth to it? How is it going to stand up on an international scale? And in a lot of ways, how is that going to target countries that aren't doing their job, aren't playing a role, or in the case of this country, how we're pulling out and how that's going to affect the whole climax of what's happening out there in the world, both on a diplomatic but also business and environmental side of things.
Yeah, you kind of already answered my second question. I was going to ask how the whole Paris Climate Agreement works into what you did over there, and also, or this particular conference, and how were the repercussions of the United States pulling out of this a major topic at this thing?
It became a forefront of a conversation, but it was interesting to see how kind of the world took it and kind of understood that it's like, there are so many people in the United States that are trying to keep on course and make good change for this. But the biggest thing and the simplest thing that I took away from COP is that the new economy is the green economy. So if we deny our young people, or if we deny the opportunities for business here to exist, not only are we behind right now, it seems like, but it's going to be harder for us to catch up and harder for us to compete with the rest of the world if we're not doing this major role in the green economy. Right.
So, you brought up some very good things there, and of course that a lot of that will rely on, voting in the right people and hopefully making the right decisions. But sometimes for the common person like you and me here, in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, it becomes kind of overwhelming. It's like, wow, this is all happening internationally, but what can I, John Doe in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, do, or what can my company or where I work or go to school or wherever, what can we do locally? So how does what you discussed over there work into local climate issues and sustainability, and what can we do to kind of help?
I think it starts with the question of like, how does this affect me, or how am I contributing to this issue? I mean, a perfect example to answer your question, I was at the grocery store yesterday and just seeing the amount of waste that's generated when people just do simple, mundane things going to the grocery store. Yeah. Like even buying bulk materials, and there's plastic containers as an only option for them to do takeout, or styrofoam containers. So it's like, where are we going to cut those little small things in the picture with it? And I mean, the other thing is too, it's like you have to ask those questions, and what are we going to do to change? Because if we don't ask those questions for ourselves and also for others, and also holding people accountable for that are actually being able to make that difference on a world front or even on a local front. So it's like, it has a lot of different things, I think, as part of this question, that we need to look inward and also outward. Right. So it's like, think globally but act locally.
Yeah. So what can we do to act locally? Do we, encourage our legislators, or do we try to do things on a even smaller basis in our own homes, or is it a combination of both? And
I would say it's a combination of both.
Yeah.
And even kind of looking here at Kutztown as an institution, like how is Kutztown making that mark for future generations? And the one thing I thought was interesting in hearing other universities from the United States even that are saying that they're changing their tune in a lot of ways of doing things. And I heard a lot from what Oregon is doing right now and how they're creating a new trade industry, or they're kind of derailing the old idea of what the trade industry is, in the sense of like now the new training programs for trade are in the green economy. So it's like, are we teaching the next generation of leaders and business people, or are we just keeping on this course of business as usual and status quo?
Right. So for people that are interested in learning more about the conference, this amazing experience that you had, or what they can do, locally to help, do you have any suggestions of where they can get more information about that kind of stuff?
I would look up on the UNFCCC's website. So that's the United Nations Framework Conference on Climate Change. And they have stuff that's up there all the time. But I think a lot of it, too, is contacting your local officials, and also to see in, like, small municipalities if there is, like, environmental advisory councils, because I know the borough of Kutztown has a very active one.
They do, yeah.
So those are good jumping off points.
That's great. All right. Well, so just in the final minute that we have here to fill up, where would you like to see yourself mixing into all of this? So what's your lifelong goal in the world of climate?
I guess at the end of the day, it's a big goal, but kind of being a climate diplomat representing a country or whatever, but
that'd be cool.
Working with the UN on something like that. And I think COP was the first time I kind of at least had that idea. So
it was definitely a good stepping ground for you.
Yeah, so doing diplomacy with climate change. And
that really was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So hopefully that's a good stepping ground for you for great and wonderful things in the future. And hopefully I'll be seeing your name all over the world pretty soon.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, Shana Rose,
yes,
2016 Kutztown University Environmental Geography alumni. Thank you so much for the information on that great conference you went to. You did a great job, and we hope to see a lot more from you in the near future.
Thank you.
All right, this has been Kutztown Live. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to our special guests, Shana Rose, and earlier in the show, Michael O'Mara, who interviewed Jake Zimmers. We'll join you again next time here on Kutztown Live. Have a great day and stay tuned for Sports Talk coming up next after the news.